Helping people from the shadows, the strongest Onmyoji in history gets betrayed and suffers a tragic death. Moments before his death, he transmigrates to another world where magic determines one's status, reincarnating as the talentless third son of an aristocrat. Despite lacking all magical abilities, Wayne possesses the world's greatest spiritual power. And so, accompanied by his Shikigami, called the 12 Heavenly Generals, the once strongest Onmyoji begins his new life. No longer will he hide in the shadows, taking the spotlight for himself to become the strongest ruler in this world. In year 3 of the Jisho era, a boy runs around through a forest in ancient Kyoto. Soon, he confronts a shadowy, tar-like creature. Bringing out an origami person, the teenager throws it towards the monstrous being, unleashing Scarlet Sky Explosion. Suddenly, he is overcome with an unpleasant feeling. "We successfully fooled you." A horde of people calls out from nearby, revealing that the boy has been led to this place by the Onmyoji of the Tsuchimi family. They tell him that there's no use wondering about the number of people, as this is where his life ends. With an origami person in each of its members' hands, the ominous group call out, "Summon Seal, Spiritual Power Restraint." The boy notes that not only has his Shikigami summoning been sealed, but his spiritual power that can be released all at once is limited too. However, he remains unfazed and sarcastically remarks, "You really prepared to such an extent? Don't fail now." Grinning at the teenager's comment, one of the villains tells him to enjoy himself while it lasts. After all, today is the day when his life will end. Before he kicks the bucket, the boy wants them to at least tell him why he is being killed. The reason is plain and simple. "You're too strong," replies a man, revealing that someone like him who can single-handedly subjugate evil spirits of rivers and mountains is nothing but a hindrance to the Tsuchimi family. As the boy smiles at the fact that he frightens them, the horde of attackers jumps him. With his strongest Shikigami sealed and his spiritual techniques restrained, the teenager recognizes that going up against an elite of more than 100 Onmyojis and winning isn't possible even if it's him. However, he vows to keep on fighting till the end. "Bring it on, I will beat you all at your own game," proclaims the boy, letting out a demonic glare. Moments later, the battlefield is riddled with corpses of the Tsuchimi family's Onmyojis. Looking on at their dwindling forces, the attackers question how someone whose spiritual techniques should be below an ordinary Onmyoji after the weakening effect can endure this much punishment. Meanwhile, with blood dripping down his face, the boy wonders if it's really difficult to survive this predicament he's in. "This is the only way I have left." Murmuring to himself, the teenager brings out a glowing origami person. Realizing that he is up to something, the Onmyojis put up their guards. Feeling like he lost, the boy is a little frustrated at having to rely on his last resort. Regardless, he calls out, "Circle of Transmigration." Swirling vortexes of energy erupt from his location, leaving the attackers questioning how he still possesses the spiritual power required to unleash the forbidden arts. "This life wasn't so bad," mutters the boy. Closing his eyes, he lets out a smile and swears to do better next time. Elsewhere in a fancy room, a teenager snaps awake in a bed. Noting that he isn't hurt, the boy observes his blonde hair and blue eyes. Celebrating at the implication, he shouts out, "The reincarnation was a success. Live casually, click the new Game Plus button." Right then, the memories of the body's previous owner start flowing into the boy's head, making him writhe in agony. With this, he comes to understand that there's no Onmyo jutsu in this world. Instead, there's a concept of magic. However, what remains common is that his situation, even in this new reality, doesn't seem to be very good. Named Wayne Granado, the boy is the Granado family's third son. The admission exam for Al-Sura Academy of Magic is coming up, but his reputation is awfully bad, and no one expects him to pass the exam. This is because Wayne Granado has no talent in magic, or rather, the reincarnated soul doesn't have any magical ability that renders him unable to use magic, causing Wayne to have a hard time. Albeit understanding the situation, he still finds it to be troubling since Wayne has 0 mana. While the boy possesses tremendous spiritual power to use Onmyo jutsu, the very concept of spiritual power hasn't been discovered in this world, let alone having any applications of it. Regardless, even this extreme situation for his reincarnation seems befitting for someone like him, considering he was said to be the strongest Onmyoji in history. Though, Wayne ponders if he should feel betrayed instead. "My guy is ungrateful as freak." As parts of this memory are still vague, the boy reads a few books to get a little more understanding into his current situation. Soon, he understands that the culture and ecosystem of this world are drastically different from the reality that he knew. In place of yokai and vengeful spirits, the demon beasts are the major threats here that even encroach on the Granato territory every year. As Wayne expected, magic is the popular way to fight off these creatures, with no one seemingly knowing about the existence of any Onmyoji. If that's the case, my power is likely to surprise people a little, remarks the reincarnated soul as he begins prepping an origami person. In his previous life, Wayne didn't want attention and protected people by working in the dark. However, this led to his eventual demise. So if he wants to make it flashy this time around by being in the spotlight, despite not having regrets in his past life as he got his revenge in the last big stage, Wayne wants to make sure that he doesn't have to resort to that in this world. In order to do so, first, the boy's thoughts suddenly get interrupted by two imposing figures, reminding him that he will be expelled from Granato's territory if he can't get into the Alcer Academy of Magic. These two are Harold and Dean, Wayne's older brothers who always bully him because of their father's reckless will to leave the family estate to his unfit third son. While his jealous brothers give him a hard time about it, the boy reminisces about why his dad wanted him to inherit the family. On his deathbed, Wayne's father remarks that the Granato territory doesn't need power but wisdom, as his third son is very smart. He wants him to lead the weak territory using those wits. Wayne protests that nobody's going to accept him even if he succeeds the family. However, the father expresses his desire for him to build his position enough to convince them. Bro has more faith in his son than Lizzo has in her clothes. He feels that Harold and Dean are too selfish, making them unfit to be the territory's lord. Holding Wayne's hand, the dad apologizes for putting him through this trouble, but believes that he will be able to prevail against it. With this, the boy accepts his last wish and proclaims, "I will, without fail, lead the Granato family." That night, Wayne's father passed away. Now, to convince his two selfish brothers that he is fit to be the family head, the reincarnated soul has to enter the Alcer Academy of Magic. Though this unreasonable demand left behind by his father also provided Wayne with an opportunity. Suddenly, Harold shouts at his little brother for not listening. "I am listening," Harold mutters Wayne, declaring that he will have full control over their territory after entering the Alcer Academy of Magic and succeeding the family. The brothers are left speechless at this proclamation, prompting Wayne to reiterate his words. Suddenly, Harold and Dean burst out laughing. Telling them that he is not joking, the boy proposes a bet. If he fails the admission exam, all his possessions, including the jewelry and armor that his father gave him, will belong to his brothers. However, if Wayne passes, Harold and Dean will be expelled from the Granato family. The two are amused at this proposition, considering that there's no way for their brother to be accepted when he doesn't have any mana. The risk they're taking is calculated, but boy are they bad at math. Declaring Wayne's behavior to be idiotic, they accept the proposal and leave, looking forward to seeing his downfall in the admission exam coming up in 3 days. As Harold and Dean leave, the boy wonders if they are planning something. After all, they already had enough, making the reward of winning the bet not worth it. Vowing to make his cocky brothers pay for everything with Onmyoji, Wayne mutters, "Well then, first, let's start by reviving them." Holding an origami person in his hands, Wayne begins testing out the Onmyoji, as it is activated by reciting mantra and consumes one's spiritual power using the paper doll as a catalyst. Onmyoji is very similar to the magic that people in this world utilize using their magical power. However, Wayne doesn't have any mana, instead having an abundant reservoir of spiritual power. The reincarnated soul ponders if it's because the connection of the two powers is placed at the opposite poles, kind of like yin and yang. Questioning which Onmyoji should he use, the boy suddenly hears a voice. "Are you hesitating? Master Wayne." This is Kijin, who has been waiting for her master to wake up, as Wayne expected. Along with his reincarnation, the Shikigami of the 12 heavenly generals are all in good condition as well. Hearing the chief Shikigami speak to him, Wayne is glad that she is serving him even after his reincarnation, making Kijin feel honored. The boy then tells the Shikigami that she is just on time, as he is summoning them right about now. Holding the origami person in his hand, Wayne erupts with an immense amount of spiritual power and calls out, "Shikigami summon." 12 heavenly generals, ranked the highest among Shikigami. The 12 heavenly generals are his strongest subordinates and now surround him. As Onmyoji can be used even in this world, they have been summoned safely, or so Wayne thought. Suddenly, most of the Shikigami disappear, making the boy realize that it's difficult to maintain all 12 bodies with his current spiritual power. Only 3 of his subordinates remain, being Kijin, Suzaku, and Dain. As all of them kneel in front of him, the chief Shikigami happily remarks, "Master Wayne, it has been a while." Suzaku follows, expressing his delight at the reincarnated soul awakening. The cheerful Dain chimes in, complimenting Wayne for being cuter than before and becoming a pretty boy. Kijin playfully scolds her for being rude, but Dain insists that this much is fine. Seeing this, Wayne feels happy that none of them have changed even after all this time. As the chief Shikigami questions why only the three of them are left, Suzaku and Dain label themselves the chosen ones among the 12 heavenly generals. Though, Wayne soon bursts their bubble by revealing that it was by pure coincidence. All let them be delusional in peace, vowing to summon all of them when he gets a little more spiritual power so they can do whatever they want. Wayne asks his subordinates to be patient until then. Feeling honored by her master's kind words, Kijin lets him know that the other Shikigamis are happy as well. She then brings up the upcoming admission exam that Wayne must pass in order to become the head of the family. "Right, that's where we start," mutters the boy. All the while, Suzaku and Dain express their desire to quickly get back against his annoying brothers, assuring his subordinates that they will get revenge against them soon. Wayne explains that he isn't enrolling in the Alcera Academy of Magic just to get passing scores. While the other two goofballs hype their master up, Kijin questions if his older brothers will quietly accept getting expelled from the Granado family when he passes the admission exam. After all, not even in their wildest dreams was Wayne going to accomplish this feat. Despite being convinced that Harold and Dean will definitely retaliate, the boy thinks that it won't be a big deal in the end. First and foremost, he wants to get rid of his image of being a dropout who can't use any magic once entering the academy, making Kijin wonder if the low opinions of such people even important. Wayne explains that regardless of whether their opinions matter, his reputation is exactly where things went wrong in his previous life. Being the strongest Onmyoji ever, he did things out of the public view, not liking the spotlight. However, because Wayne moved freely without belonging to any faction despite his status, the Tsuchimikado family's respect towards him plummeted. As a result, the other Onmyojis got rid of him. Bloods are more petty than teenage girls. So this time, Wayne aims to become the strongest ruler that everyone recognizes, having comrades who will never rebel. Praising their master's intellectual idea, the Shikigami prepare to bow down before him. Suddenly, Wayne tells Kijin that she should try taking the admission exam as well. "Huh. Why?" mutters the latter, getting told that it's reassuring to have one of the Shikigamis as a collaborator to help him get the top spot in the school. Pouting her master's unfairness, Dain wonders why he is only asking Kijin. Wayne simply pats the Shikigami on the head, telling her to give it up since Kijin is the best intellectual among the 12 heavenly generals. Feeling honored by her master's words, the chief Shikigami vows to support him responsibly. Suzaku questions if she will be fine learning the magic and practical subjects, considering they are likely to be irrelevant in spiritual arts. Right then, Wayne brings out some books and points out that Shikigamis don't sleep, so if Kijin keeps studying for 3 days straight from now, she will get by just fine in the admission exam. Hearing this, Dain feels glad that she wasn't picked for this job. Dodge a whole ass nuke their girl. Wayne then asks Suzaku and Dain if it's alright for them to go back so they can keep Kijin's summon, and they happily oblige. The boy then pats the chief Shikigami on the shoulder, giving her words of encouragement. With this, she prepares herself to start studying. A maid comes to clean up Wayne's room, only to run away after getting spooked by a floating pen and paper. Though, this is just Kijin using the Onmyu jutsu called transparency to make herself invisible. Time passes, and the day of the entrance exam finally arrives. Traveling from the Granato territory to the royal capital of Alcera in a carriage, Wayne sits with Kijin, who is still using transparency, despite the several rumors this created among the servants back at the mansion. Right then, the boy feels a large mana reaction 3 kilometers ahead of them and questions if it's a demon beast. As Kijin asks him if he wants her to get rid of it, Wayne declares, "It's fine," continues studying, bringing out an origami person. He then uses spatial transfer to teleport out of the carriage. Before the entrance exam, Wayne had deepened his understanding of magic and mana. This enabled him to recognize the mana inherent in other living things to some extent, despite the mana in his own body being close to 0. As such, Wayne knows that the demon beast blocking his way is a Class A Chimera. Unfazed, he mocks the predator for being right on time as his warm-up before the entrance exam. Suddenly, the Chimera stomps down on him. As Wayne jumps out of harm's way, the beast chases after him with its giant mouth wide open. However, even in this situation, the boy simply smiles and calls forth spiral raging flames. With this, the origami person in his hand starts burning, setting the chimera ablaze. After literally roasting the grade A demonic beast, Wayne teleports back to the carriage. There, he expresses disappointment at the monster being unimpressive compared to its massive mana reaction, gaining Kijin's praise. Suddenly, the carriage comes to a halt. Wayne questions what's going on, only to find out that the driver stopped because of the chimera's burnt body lying on the ground. As the latter wonders what great mage would have defeated the beast in such a manner, the former murmurs, "Who knows, who could it be? My humble goat." And so they arrive at the royal capital of Alcera. The city's magic academy holds the entrance exam equally for everyone, regardless of their status. As such, a huge number of applicants from all over the continent show up, out of which only the really powerful people are able to pass. Wayne and Kijin, who has finally released her transparency, walk towards the academy's entrance when someone suddenly shouts, "Make way, you fools." This voice belongs to a cocky brat, who is accompanied by two of his underlings. Dude gonna be more annoying than Big Mom, isn't he? Noticing Wayne there, he mocks him for being a dunce who can't even use magic. "Are you here to embarrass yourself?" As soon as these words leave his mouth, Kijin gives him a sharp glare, calming her down. Wayne claps back at this brat named Simon, calling him out for being famous for riding his parents' coattails. The former reminds the latter that he won't get any help from his parents during the entrance exam, telling him to be careful and not embarrass himself. Infuriated by this comment, Simon charges up an attack, questioning if he should just cripple the dunce even further so that he can't even hold a pen in the exam. "Stop it," screams out a pink-haired girl from nearby, announcing that she won't tolerate this behavior any longer as it's banned to have any fights between examinees. Realizing that it's the Sword Princess, Simon heads off with his underlings, going to deal with Wayne later. Afterwards, the girl asks the reincarnated soul if he's okay. "Yes, thanks to you," remarks Wayne, remembering that she is none other than Sophie, the Count's eldest daughter of the Norbert family, one of the 7 great nobles. Sighing out, the girl advises him not to bite on Simon's provocation as he is quite troublesome. As Wayne simply laughs and thanks Sophie for her concern, she notes that his character has changed quite a bit. He wonders what the girl means by that, but she tells him to forget about it and marches off. "What do you mean forget about it? Spill the tea, sis." "My character." "Huh." Albeit acknowledging that he has changed a little, Wayne thinks that Sophie is an observant person to have noticed that. Meanwhile, Kijin is enraged at the rude people they keep encountering and questions if she should just get rid of them. Once again, calming her down, the boy reminds her that his reputation will attract people with bad attitudes for a while, so she shouldn't waste her energy on them every time. Soon, the announcement is made for examinees to move to the venue, marking the start of the Alcera Academy of Magic's entrance exam, which consists of 3 categories: written test, magic test, and practical skills. Sitting down for the first one, Wayne telepathically informs Kijin that he will tell her his answer just before the exam ends so that she can match it up. The Shikigami wonders why she had to study if her master was just going to do that, getting told that she will still have to work out the questions properly even if he gives her the answers. And so, the written exam begins. Going through the written exam, Wayne realizes that its questions are about the understanding of magic. Despite excelling in magic theory, the former owner of the body lacks the technical understanding of magic. As such, he would not have been able to answer such questions. Luckily, the main focus of the written exam ends up being magic theory. So Wayne easily finishes the exam, all the while fixing Kijin's wrong answers to ensure that she passes as well. As the chief Shikigami apologizes for her incompetence, the boy tells her that she did just fine for a 3-day crash course. More importantly, since the chanting exam was coming up next, Wayne instructs her to keep their Onmyoji jutsu a secret. Hearing this, Kijin vows to live up to his expectations in the remaining exams. Sometime later, the chanting exam begins. Its goal is simple. The applicants will fire their best spell at a target and get graded according to the damage. Waiting for his turn, Wayne realizes that the other applicants aren't as good as he thought, concluding that he should limit his spiritual power even more. Right then, Simon snarks that Wayne should just back out now since he can't even use magic at all. "Don't assume that I am the same as before," remarks the latter, warning the brat that his teasing might just fire back on him. As it starts, Simon starts stuttering over his words. Suddenly, he gets called for his chanting exam. Preparing for his turn, Simon announces that he will show Wayne the difference between them. As Kijin gets furious mutters at this comment, the boy scolds her for using nasty words and she apologizes. Though, Wayne tells her not to worry about it as the difference between him and Simon will become apparent soon enough. Oda level foreshadowing. He then instructs Kijin not to overdo things and match the level of force he uses. At the same time, Simon Patridge casts a spell using shortened chanting, impressing the onlookers. While the spoiled brat boasts about this feat, Wayne seems unimpressed, wondering how Simon is so full of himself with such little precision and power. The reincarnated feels glad that he wasn't up first, as he definitely would have overdone it. Right then, the examiner calls Wayne Granato on the stage. Walking up to the stage, the boy crosses paths with Simon, who continues with a relentless mockery. Ignoring him, Wayne notes that Onmyoji jutsu can't be used without paper dolls, unlike magic. In order to hide them from people's eyes, he decides to limit his Onmyoji jutsu to be only a bit stronger than Simon's spell, all the while faking a shortened chant to score some extra points. Casting Fireball, Wayne ends up completely shattering the training object, shocking the other examinees. This makes him realize that he still isn't used to his body yet, so there's ways to go for him when it comes to controlling his spiritual power. Right then, Simon starts accusing Wayne of being a cheater. He argues that there's no way someone with no mana like him could use such a powerful spell, prompting the other examinees to take his side. After all, Wayne Granato has a reputation for being a dunce. However, they are silenced by the examiner, announcing that whether the boy cheated or not will be decided by the academy after the exam. While Wayne breathes a sigh of relief, Kijin heads up for her turn. Insistent on being a nuisance, Simon comes up to the former and tells him that his dirty means won't work in the practical exam. Dude would be rich if being a hater was a job. I see. Then, I will. Wayne gets cut off by a loud explosion, caused by Kijin using the same strength as her master at her chanting exam. With everyone frozen in awe, the boy realizes that he should have been more specific in his instructions, but reluctantly praises his subordinate anyways. Meanwhile, Simon continues to lose his mind. Soon, the practical exam begins, consisting of duels between applicants with a 3-minute time limit. As every contestant will only fight once, they need to demonstrate their skills in that one match. Though the outcome of said match doesn't seem to have any bearing on the examination. Simon sarcastically asks Wayne if he even knows who his opponent is, only to hear a nonchalant "I don't care" in response. Moments later, the examiner announces that Simon Patridge and Wayne Granato will be facing off against each other. Turns out, the former requested the academy have the latter as his opponent. Wayne questions if this isn't just blatant cheating, but Simon insists that he is actually on the side of justice to expose a cheater like him. Blood has an answer for everything. Gotta respect the dedication at least. What a pity, remarks the spoiled brat, declaring that he will publicly humiliate Wayne for cheating his way through the chanting exam. Unbothered by Simon's comment, the reincarnated soul replies, "Do you really think you can take me down?" Absolutely pissed off by the boy's attitude, Simon vows to beat him to a pulp. Soon, the match begins. Right off the bat, the spoiled brat lets out a maniacal laughter and unleashes Flame Burst. As a massive ball of fire flies towards him, Wayne realizes that his opponent's attack actually came from a magic crystal, making his cheating allegations mere projection. "Well, I don't hold back then," mutters the boy, using an Onmyoji jutsu called Mega Freeze to stop Simon's attack right in its tracks. Seeing that the spell he used via a magic crystal was nullified so easily, the spoiled brat falls to the ground and screams at the monster to stay away. However, Wayne simply walks towards him. As he puts Simon to sleep using Juho Shiki, the magic crystal rolls out of his hand, exposing him as the true cheater. With this, the match reaches its conclusion, and Wayne is announced as the winner. Seeing the magic crystal roll out from his hand, the examiner announces that the academy has confirmed Simon Patridge to be a cheater. As such, he will now be disqualified from the entrance exam. This announcement causes a huge ruckus, as Simon was thought to be a capable top student. They'd be giving the title to just anyone. Moreover, the examinees get shocked that despite the cheating, Wayne somehow still won against his opponent. Suffy also looks on, wondering just what in the world happened to him. As Wayne comes back, Kijin congratulates him for finally showing the insolent guy the difference between them. Accepting his subordinate's praise, the boy reminds her not to go overboard like he did and hold back her power a little more. "Understood. You could count on me," exclaims the Shikigami with puppy-like eyes, worrying Wayne with her enthusiasm. Just as he thought, Kijin ends up blowing away her opponent with a monstrous blast. And so, the entrance exam reaches its conclusion. Afterwards, in the principal's office, an old man goes over Wayne's report, finding out that he used a spell with a chant nobody has ever before, despite possessing no mana. There were no signs of the boy cheating either, as he himself identified the cheating of other applicants. Ha ha ha. What an interesting applicant, mutters the principal, looking forward to an interview with him. 3 days pass after the entrance exam, and Wayne once again comes to the Aristocrat Academy of Magic. Walking through the hallways, the boy wonders why he is the only applicant who was called for a follow-up interview, considering even Kijin didn't get called for one. Soon, Wayne arrives at the principal's office and knocks on the door. After getting permission to enter, he heads inside. Introducing himself as Rollo, the principal greets Wayne. Hearing his name, the reincarnated soul realizes that the principal of Aristocrat Magic Academy is none other than the strongest magician in the entire kingdom of Aristocrat, Rollo Vistov. As the old man has invented more than 100 new spells, he is known as the father of the field of modern magic studies. He's the strongest and greatest magician, or he's supposed to be. Sitting across Rollo, Wayne can't help but see just a normal old man. Apologizing for making him come all the way there, Rollo remarks that he just has a few questions for the boy about his magic. Since it actually isn't magic but Onmyoji jutsu, Wayne wonders what he should say. Right then, Rollo puts forward his own theory that what the boy was using was not magic, but something else entirely. Dude got that Among Us IQ. Hearing this, Wayne realizes that he couldn't have been more wrong about the old man being just an ordinary person, as it might be difficult to hide the existence of Onmyoji jutsu from the country's strongest magician. The reincarnated soul concludes that now is a good chance to expose this world to the source of his power. That's correct. I don't have any mana after all, remarks Wayne, telling Rollo that what he actually used was Onmyoji jutsu. Intrigued, the old man strokes his beard and says that he has never heard of such a thing before. Wayne tells him that it's because Onmyoji jutsu is something he invented himself. Surprised to find out that someone so young managed to invent a new source of power, Rollo gets excited. Let's move quickly then, remarks the magician. Getting up, he uses his magic wand to teleport the two of them to a coliseum without even chanting, impressing Wayne. Though, Rollo thinks that this much is a piece of cake. Turning over to the boy, the old man questions if he minds showing him his Onmyoji jutsu. Having expected that things would end like this, Wayne agrees to the showcase. Rollo smiles, revealing that the boy passing or failing the entrance exam will depend on what he shows him. In other words, it's like a fourth exam that only Wayne has to take. Gotta sue the system at this point? No. Noting that Rollo is still an old man despite being the strongest magician in the kingdom, Wayne prepares to strike with an Onmyoji jutsu that isn't too harmful. Right then, he gets attacked by the magician, quickly pulling out an origami person to form a barrier. The boy blocks the onslaught and questions why Rollo is attacking all of a sudden. The old man remarks that it seemed like Wayne wasn't going to show him his best, so he insisted on showing him what he is capable of. "Don't perceive me as just an old fool, boy," says Rollo, expressing his desire to see Wayne at full power. Though despite his big words, the magician is shocked that the boy managed to defend so well in only an instant. "What a terrifying young man," mutters Rollo, getting excited just thinking about how Wayne is going to attack. Right then, the boy inquires if he is really the strongest and greatest magician, something that the old man confirms. "Got it. Then, let me show you all I have got," proclaims Wayne, bursting forth with immense spiritual power to demonstrate his strongest Onmyoji jutsu, Ultimate Spirit Flame. A monstrous blue flame emerges from Wayne's paper doll and engulfs Rollo, erupting into a massive explosion. When the dust settles, the magician pops up nearby, unscathed. "How dangerous," mutters the old man, noting that he almost wasn't able to dodge the attack. Understanding that Rollo's might far exceeds that of the Tsuchimikado Onmyoji's, Wayne smiles, as he concludes that this world won't be quite as simple as the previous one. The magician announces that he has a good grasp on his power now. Hearing this, Wayne questions if this means that he passes the entrance exam, only to be laughed at. Rollo strokes his beard, revealing that the boy passing was never in question. Upon Wayne's confusion, the magician informs him that he already passed the exam 3 days ago. In fact, the only reason Rollo held the interview was because he thought it would be interesting. Letting out a soft chuckle, the principal remarks that he looks forward to seeing exactly what Wayne is going to achieve at this academy. "Geez, what a cunning old geezer," mutters the reincarnated soul, realizing that he got played. Blood forgot that plot armor doesn't make him smarter. Several days later, Wayne walks through his mansion halls with an envelope in his hands. He is accompanied by Kijin, who is overjoyed that they finally passed the entrance exam. After receiving her master's praise, She mocks his brothers for being foolish enough to even think about making a bet with him. Though, Wayne just hopes that Harold and Dean actually honor the bet, considering they set the rules themselves. Moments later, the two arrive in front of a room. Before heading inside, Wayne releases Kijin's summon. Wishing her master good luck, the Shikigami disappears. Opening the door, Wayne is greeted by Harold and Dean, who are sitting across each other at a dining table. Harold gets pissed off at this sight, reminding Wayne that they allowed a weakling like him to eat with them. "You did," murmurs the boy, remarking that he just thought it to be a good time since both his brothers are here. Opening the envelope, Wayne tells his brothers to take a look. Much to their dismay, it is a letter of acceptance from the Alcera of Academy. This time, Wayne is the one to remind them that the two of them will leave the Granado family as promised. "No way, that's impossible," proclaims Dean, getting told by Harold not to make such a fuss over something that's most definitely a fake. Bros on that hard copium, the former feels relieved at the latter's words. After all, there was no way someone who's talentless as Wayne would get accepted. Of course, the reincarnated soul never thought that this was going to be easy. "Why don't I prove it to you then?" questions Wayne, promising to show his brothers once and for all that the letter of acceptance is the real deal. With a gentle smile across his face, the boy remarks that they will understand when they see the difference in their powers. "Listen here, you weakling," shouts out Harold. Suddenly, he grabs a dagger and charges towards Wayne to make him remember his place. However, the boy simply stops the weapon in place with just 2 fingers, utterly baffling his brothers. While Harold realizes that he can't move the dagger no matter what, Wayne instructs his other brother to come at him with all he's got too. Infuriated by this comment, Dean tells the reincarnated soul not to look down on him and begins chanting a fire spell. After a relatively lengthy chant, flames erupt from Dean's palms and engulf Wayne. At the same time, Harold lets go of the knife and falls to the ground, celebrating his brother's demise. Suddenly, the flames dissipate. Wayne stands there, unfazed and unscathed, still holding the dagger in between his 2 fingers. Left in disbelief, Harold and Dean question what's going on. Just then, Wayne throws the dagger towards the latter. Slightly trimming some of his hair, the weapon goes flying past Dean's face and into the nearby wall. "That will be all," announces Wayne, marking the end of his demonstration. Declaring that passing the exam means that he will claim his inheritance while his brothers will officially get banished from the Granado family, Wayne gives them until the next day to pack their things. Sitting on the ground in a pathetic state, Harold asks Dean what they are going to do now, questioning why they are in this situation even though they finally managed to kill their father by swapping out his every single medicine. "Nah, they're some supervillains." Dean then shouts at Harold to shut his mouth. Gritting his teeth, he murmurs about having to play his trump card now that's come to this. Sometime later in a tavern, Dean hands an ominous entity 10 platinum coins. "Are you sure you can kill him?" questions the brother. "Yes, of course I am. You can count on me," replies the enigmatic figure. This is Assassin Zodia, aka the Silent Magician. Waking up in his bed, Wayne hears Kijin's concerned voice. Of course, he already knows what's going on. Just as the boy thought, his brothers have been up to no good and have shut him inside a barrier. Seeing that even the bed's wooden frame is deteriorating, Wayne realizes that this is magic for assassination. He takes a stroll around the room, coming to a stop right beside the withering flowers. To think they would use such a weak technique, mutters Wayne in disappointment, announcing that he should show his brothers how a real assassination is done. Elsewhere, someone lets out a maniacal laughter. This is Harold, who is accompanied by Dean and Zodia, praising the assassin for his amazing skills. He expresses the desire to see his cocky weakling of a brother writhing in pain as soon as possible. "He's just unlucky," mutters Harold, remarking that they wouldn't have needed to go as far as to kill Wayne if he simply didn't pass the exam to Alcera. Laughing alongside Harold, Zodia reveals that he has filled the inside of the barrier with solvent magic, making it impossible for anyone inside to stay calm. Hearing this, Harold gets up to take a look. With a sinister look on his face, he insists that they need to get plenty of payback against Wayne. Dean replies that he has no interest in petty revenge and is only going since it's his duty as an older brother to witness his little brother's final moments, despite the villainous expression on his face saying otherwise. If capping was a sport, this dude would be a gold medalist. Soon, the 3 of them head upstairs. Walking through the corridor, they arrive at Wayne's door. Zodia holds the door handle, telling the brothers to prepare themselves before he opens the door. After all, upon doing so, the 2 of them will witness their little brother's mangled body. "We will be fine," mutters Harold. He swings the door open. excited to see how bad his weakling brother looks now. Much to the trio's shock, Wayne is nowhere to be found. That's impossible. Zodia stutters over his words, getting pressed by Dean because his barrier was supposed to be inescapable. The assassin insists that there's no way Wayne could have escaped, considering he even doubled the magic circle. Infuriated, Harold tells Zodia to answer why their brother is not there then. "Oh, but I am." Turning around to the direction of the voice, the three of them see Wayne standing there, unable to comprehend how he doesn't have a mark on him. The reincarnated soul tells the trio to explain what exactly is going on, since escaping the barrier as soon as it formed and tracing the mana led him back to them. Hearing this, Harold finally has an inkling of what his brother is implying. Wayne then scolds them for preposterously walking down the corridor all happy, despite not even confirming that their assassination target was really dead. While Zodia tries to comprehend what he's saying, the boy reveals that he also heard what they were talking about. In fact, that's what convinced him that their father was right about the two of them not being suited to become lords. Let him know king. Right then, Harold shouts at his weakling brother, while Dean orders the assassin to kill him. "That's what I was planning on," mutters Zodia, only for Wayne to appear behind him in the blink of an eye. Rendering the assassin unconscious, Wayne scolds him for letting his guard down before confirming that his target is dead, considering it has led to the tables turning on him. Unable to process what just transpired, Dean and Harold stand frozen in place. Turning his attention back to the two brothers, Wayne declares that merely banishing them won't be enough anymore. After all, they have shown it themselves that they won't learn and will just come for him again. So, the reincarnated soul will have to give his brothers a taste of hell to teach them their lesson. Even in this situation, Harold shouts at the weakling to not carry it away. No longer entertaining his brother's crap, Wayne lets out an ominous aura and tells him to shut up. While Harold starts trembling in fear, Dean apologizes to his little brother, asking for the boy's forgiveness. He swears that they will never bother him again. "Doing a worse actor than The Rock? No thank you," replies Wayne with a gentle smile. Getting rejected like this, Dean's act falls apart. He starts blaming the boy for causing all this by not just shutting up and listening to them. Right then, Wayne mutters, "Do it, Tenku." A devilish shadow-like creature erupts from his being, seemingly swallowing Harold and Dean whole. Though, this is just because Tenku is one of the 12 heavenly generals who specializes in illusions. As such, if Wayne's brothers were to ever go near the Granato territory, they would suffer from illusions of monsters attacking them. With this, the reincarnated soul makes sure that Harold and Dean never step foot there again. And so, Wayne officially becomes the Lord of the Granato territory. Holding his dad's picture in his hands, the boy vows to protect the land that he loved so much. "So please, try to rest in peace," remarks Wayne, setting the portrait of his smiling father at his desk before leaving the room. At the Alcera Magic Academy's opening ceremony, the student representative is called to the stage, being none other than Wayne Granato. Turns out, Rollo's shenanigans caused him to become the top student right out the entrance exams. Regardless, the boy realizes that he just has to refrain from making the same mistakes that he did in his previous life. So, Wayne walks up to the stage, vowing to take full advantage of this situation. As he does so, the other students start gossiping about his reputation of being a manaless dunce and question why he is giving the address. Right then, Wayne begins the speech, thanking the Academy for holding a splendid opening ceremony for them. In the same vein, the boy suddenly springs on everyone that he has no mana, which renders him unable to use magic. However, Wayne can instead use something else called Onmyoji Jutsu. While the Academy personnel get confused, Kijin smiles, feeling relieved that her master will finally be regarded in a better light. Wayne continues, revealing that Onmyoji Jutsu uses spiritual power instead of mana, something he luckily has a lot of. So, with this at his disposal, the reincarnated soul declares that he is superior to each and every one of the magicians at the Academy. Bro is Timothy with this speech. Despite the entire student body looking at him with furious eyes, Wayne remarks that he will prove his words in the upcoming school activities and turn the entire world on its head. "I hope you will forgive me for being so blunt during my greeting," remarks the boy, thanking the students for listening to him and leaving Kijin in awe. Meanwhile, Rollo, who has been observing all this from nearby, chuckles and remarks, "You've done it now, you rascal." Seeing this, a teacher asks him if he is really going to allow such a greeting. Rollo replies that it's fine, since ability is all that matters in this academy and Wayne has more than enough of it to back up his statement, though the teacher is unconvinced. Afterwards, Wayne sits alone at the academy, getting avoided by everyone like the plague. However, he is unbothered, as that's just part of his plan. Suddenly, someone asks Wayne if he didn't go too overboard with a provocative greeting. "It was pretty good, right, Sophie?" remarks the boy. The girl questions if he is being serious about this, considering the whole academy is hating his guts after that speech. Letting out a chuckle, Wayne tells Sophie that she's right, though she doesn't need to worry as that's exactly what he was going for. Clearing up her confusion, Wayne reveals that he will prove his superiority just like he said in the greeting, eventually standing at the top of Alcera with his Onmyoji jutsu. About that," exclaims Sophie, inquiring when the boy developed a new form of magic. Telling Sophie not to mix his Onmyoji jutsu with something like magic, Wayne proclaims that he learned it by betting his life on it. Of course, this explanation just leaves the girl even more confused. Right then, Kijin comes back. Wayne asks her about the details of the academy, getting told that the north and south buildings each have their own cafeteria, with the northern one being particularly famous for its freshly baked apple pie. Deciding to go there, the boy extends his hand towards Sophie and expresses his hope in getting along with her from now on. Reciprocating Wayne's handshake, the girl expresses the same desire. However, after he leaves with Kijin, Sophie is left with one question. Is that really Wayne? Unbeknownst to the girl, a suspicious butterfly has been observing her during all this. Blue getting caught in fork. Sometime later, the same butterfly goes back to its master. "So, you found them," mutters an ominous man, noting that certain names have most excellent genes among all the students at Alcera. Going on about Sophie Norbert being someone with the awakened gene, the crazed man grins at the prospect of never having to fear anything as soon as he gets his hands on her. After all, not even Rollo, the strongest magician himself, possesses the capability to match the awakened gene. The villain declares, "When I have her, I shall rule Alcera." 1 week after the opening ceremony, a teacher announces that they will be having mock battles in order to get a good grasp of the ability of the sword class. During the battles, students will not be allowed to use magic, having to fight with wooden swords using only their basic abilities. Clearing up the rules, the teacher instructs the students to quickly pair up and get started. One of Sophie's fans asks to pair up with her, getting her request accepted. Meanwhile, Kijin questions if Wayne would like to make a pair with her, assuring the Shikigami that he was planning on grouping with her anyways. The boy tells her to wait a moment, wanting to observe Sophie's mock battle first. Soon, it begins, and the sword princess quickly sends her partner's sword flying. However, she is humble in victory and helps the girl back up to her feet. While the onlookers go on about Sophie's Norbert family being famous for producing sword saints for generations, Wayne simply thinks she's pretty good. Kijin then asks him if it's time for them to start, and he gives her the go-ahead. At the same time, Sophie's partner thanks her for pairing up with her, fangirling over the fact that she couldn't even get a single hit in. Sophie returns her gratitude, remarking that she still has a long way to go compared to Wayne. However, the partner doesn't believe that the skilled sword princess would get bested in a competition of swordsmanship, even if she's up against the top student. Just as Sophie thanks the girl for her compliment, huge shockwaves erupt from the center of the training grounds. Looking towards their origin, Sophie spots Wayne clashing with Kijin. Everyone with working eyes soon realizes that the two colliding forces are on a whole other level compared to the rest of them. At least they are self-aware. On the battlefield, Wayne begins to get pushed back by Kijin, making him realize that she's seriously trying to win. With the boy on the back foot, the Shikigami charges forward. Lifting her sword up into the air, she slams it onto the ground with a massive force. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "Let's stop now." This is Wayne, who has somehow appeared behind Kijin and is putting his sword against her neck. The modest Shikigami showers her master with praises, remarking that she never stood a chance against him. Though, Wayne returns the praise by complimenting Kijin for her improved acting. This makes the latter realize that the former saw right through her. Having only noticed it right at the end, Wayne tells Kijin that she doesn't have to try to raise his standing, wanting her to come at him seriously next time. "Understood," mutters the Shikigami. Right then, Sophie approaches the boy and asks if he could also have a battle with her. Having wanted to do a mock battle with her as well, Wayne gladly obliges and tells her not to hold back. "That's my line," remarks Sophie, all the while the onlookers get ready to witness a showdown between the top student and the one who took second place, wondering who's going to win. As the battle begins, the sword princess quickly goes on the offensive and charges towards Wayne. However, the boy stands his ground without moving so much as an inch. This finally convinces Sophie that he is different from the Wayne she knew. especially since he's using a completely unknown sword style that doesn't match a single one from Alcera. Dude really don't care about hiding his secret. Besides that, there was also the mysterious technique the boy calls Onmyoji Jutsu. Getting the answer to all these questions was exactly why Sophie was doing this, hoping to get to know Wayne a little bit more by crossing swords. On the other hand, the reincarnated soul notices that the mana inside the girl is really unstable, meaning she won't improve much if she were to stay like this. Wanting to remedy the situation, Wayne prepares to do that. He gets on the back foot and quickly dodges Sophie's attack, all the while discreetly bringing out a paper doll. Earth Pillar. As soon as these words leave Wayne's mouth, the ground erupts and rises, taking Sophie to the air. The onlookers shout out, reminding him that magic wasn't allowed in the mock battles. Of course, what they seem to be forgetting is that the instructor didn't say anything about using Onmyoji Jutsu. W. Luful King. Struggling to maintain her footing, Sophie questions why Wayne would suddenly do such a thing, questioning if he really wants to win that badly for him to resort to using dirty tricks. Right then, the boy appears behind her in the air. "Now then, what will you do in this situation?" inquires Wayne, swinging his wooden sword at the girl. However, Sophie somehow turns around just in time. Clashing swords with the boy, she shouts at him for looking down on her. Right then, Sophie shocks herself with the amount of force she manages to exert, sending Wayne's sword flying. "Well done," mutters the latter, admitting the battle to be his loss. Sophie questions if he can't just pick up his sword, but Wayne says that he clearly played dirty by using Onmyoji Jutsu. Magic was forbidden. So for breaking the rules, he loses. At the same time, the mana in Sophie's body begins to stabilize, making her realize that it's what Wayne was going for all along. Wondering when he even noticed that her mana was unstable, Sophie thanks him. However, Wayne insists that he didn't do anything that she needs to thank him for. As the boy heads back to Kijin, Sophie smiles. She feels glad that the one thing she really understood about Wayne holds true even now. Reminiscing about their past, Sophie remembers how Wayne gave her a flower crown when they were kids, turning her frown upside down. The girl is happy that despite being much stronger than he was before, the awkward and kind-sided Wayne is still the same as ever. Ooh, someone's in love. After the mock battles, Wayne's classmates gossip about him being a pathetic cheater who got carried away just to lose. Hearing the students say that her master isn't that big of a deal, Kijin is about to lose it, getting Rid to calm down as it's fine. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "You're misunderstanding it, everyone." This is Sophie, who tells her fellows that the only reason Wayne used Onmyoji Jutsu was because he wanted to help her improve. Her partner from the mock battle wonders if she is the one misunderstanding it, but Sophie insists that she's not. After all, Wayne's swordsmanship is better than hers to the point that he could have easily won without using Onmyoji Jutsu. As she asks the boy for confirmation about this, he murmurs, "Who knows?" Wayne then remarks that at least he thinks that he lost to Sophie in a serious sword fight, vowing to not lose to her the next time they fight, making the girl look forward to it. Meanwhile, Sophie insisting that Wayne used his Onmyoji Jutsu for her sake makes the other students finally come around to him. Noting that doing such a thing during a mock battle could only mean that his power is the real deal, they start flocking around him. Finally seeing Wayne in a whole new light. These guys as fickle as WWE fans. Afterwards, the boy thanks Sophie for coming to her defense earlier, as their classmates are no longer avoiding him because of it. Glad to be of help, the girl informs him that the way he acts is definitely easy to misunderstand. As if genuinely shocked by this revelation, Wayne remarks that he would like to ask her more about that. In fact, it could also double as a thank you if Sophie would like. He invites her for a cup of a tea at his mansion after school, an offer that she readily and happily accepts. Sometime later in the Granado family's villa, Wayne and Sophie sit across from each other at a table. Right then, Kijin apologizes for making them wait and serves the 2 black tea. As Wayne thanks her, Sophie notes that she never knew that Kijin was his servant, though the boy reminds her that having a servant attending Alcera isn't particularly rare. Moving on to the more important matter, Wayne asks Sophie to explain what she meant by him being easy to misunderstand. The girl remarks that if she were to put it simply, he's a little too confident, which is why their classmates were avoiding him. Too confident? Huh. Murmurs Wayne, making Sophie question if he actually didn't realize it. Replying that he never really thought about it before, the reincarnated soul wonders if that might be related to why the Tsuchimi Kato family betrayed him in his previous life. As Wayne always thought that it was normal to be confident in oneself, he is left wondering if she should act a little more humbly in order to avoid repeating the same mistakes that got him killed last time. Sophie then tells Wayne that everyone should be able to see that he is actually a good guy when the misunderstanding is cleared up, but the boy thinks that to be a subject for another time. She also offers to help him out, if he'd like of course, so that the class can get used to him. "You will?" questions Wayne, getting met with a sincere smile. Remarking that she has yet to repay the boy for the mock battle last time anyway, Sophie expresses the desire to get to know him better as well. Wayne thanks her, and the two enjoy their tea together. Later, waving Wayne goodbye, Sophie heads back, making him realize that she's his first friend in school. Just friends? Bro is clueless. On the way back, the girl wonders how long it's been since she had such a nice conversation with anyone. Sophie notes that very few people talk to her without keeping her family's status in mind. So Wayne's overconfidence might precisely be the reason why they can talk like that. Thinking that school life might actually be more fun than she thought, Sophie comes across a cloaked figure slouched in the middle of the street. She rushes to the entity, questioning if they are okay. "I think I sprained my ankle," remarks the old lady under the cloak, asking the girl if she could lend her a shoulder since her house isn't that far. Being the kind soul that she is, Sophie offers to carry the granny on her back so that she doesn't burden her injured ankle. However, right as Sophie turns her back to the old woman, the latter suddenly gets up and thanks the former for her kindness. Transforming into a young woman herself, the cloaked figure mutters, "It really is a big help that you are so easy to trick." Extending her claw-like hand emitting a purple glow towards Sophie, the woman renders her unconscious and carries the girl off into the sunset. "Wish someone carried me like that." Later, Hee-jin informs Wayne that a delegate from the Norbert house has arrived. "This late?" questions the boy, thinking that Sophie might have forgotten something there. Though, the Norbert family's maid instead worriedly asks Wayne if Sophie at his mansion. As he informs her that it's been quite some time since she left, the servant reveals that the girl has yet to return home. "Is that so? That's quite worrying," murmurs the boy, getting asked to contact them if he sees any sign of Sophie. After Wayne assures her that they will be the first to know if he finds anything, the Norbert house's delegate pardons their intrusion and heads back. Wayne then summoned Tamo, one of the 12 heavenly generals. Since the Shikigami heard everything, the boy asks him to locate Sophie's whereabouts, readily fulfilling his master's request. Tamo disappears into the shadows. Left with a bad feeling about this situation, Wayne hopes that it's nothing more than just that. Who's gonna tell him? Regaining consciousness, Sophie questions where she is, last remembering trying to help an old lady. Right then, the crazed man from earlier who's going on about Sophie's awakened gene shows up and mutters, "I see you have awoken." He is also accompanied by a young woman, making Sophie question who they are. Hearing this, the lady snarks at her for forgetting about her captor. "You! It was you!" shouts out the girl, realizing that the young woman was disguising herself as the granny she tried to help. The lady sarcastically expresses her delight at Sophie finally remembering who she is. However, the girl couldn't be angrier as she questions the two what they are after. "Calm down," the man remarks with a sinister grin, warning Sophie that she might just lose her life if she continues to waste her energy like that. Just as the girl wonders what he means, the man flips a switch, bringing a magic crystal over her head. "What did you do?" Sophie screams out, beginning to writhe in agony. Sarcastically asking if it hurts, the man reveals that he injected her with some highly concentrated mana. After all, it's a key step in extracting her magic gene. As Sophie questions what he means by that, the man mutters with snake-like eyes, "I have said too much." Doob really caught himself yapping. Grabbing the girl's face, the crazed guy orders her to stay quiet as she wants to live a long life. However, Sophie rebels even in the face of such danger, remarking that they must be the people known as Lunaturia. This statement shocks the two villains, making them wonder why she knows that name. Sophie continues, revealing that the name of their organization is Lunaturia, rebels who regard nobles like her as sword enemies, celebrating that they have grown famous enough for even the 7 great noble families to take note of them. The man marks this special occasion by telling her the goal of their organization. Lunaturia wants to turn this rotten world upside down, where birth determines one's status, as created by nobles like Sophie. They want to grant all the same level of power, regardless of their bloodline. To that end, they will create a drug based on her gene that will drastically improve one's mana. As long as a person holds that drug, they will be able to find happiness, not bound by the amount of mana flowing through them. Why blood high-key spitting right now? Of course, in order to obtain such a thing, all will have to swear allegiance to Lunaturia. Finally, when they have killed every last noble, a new world shall be born. Despite being in a terrible condition, Sophie manages to formulate a sentence, "No, nobody would want that." This infuriates the man, who thinks that someone like the girl with her immense power could never possibly understand how those without it feel. He turns up the crystal's output, leaving Sophie screaming in agony. With unsympathetic eyes, the man remarks that the extraction process can begin after just a little more of her misery. He reveals that Sophie will be free to go once it's complete, though she will be a cripple then. Observing all this from nearby, the Shikigami, Teimo, understands that getting Sophie out of there will be difficult, crediting the trouble to the woman. Wanting to inform his master right away, he heads back. Later, Teimo returns to Wayne and reveals that he has located Sophie's current position. Upon the boy's inquiry, the Shikigami informs him that she is in an abandoned castle west of here. Wayne questions why she is in a place like that, getting told that the group called Lunatioria is using her for some kind of human experiment. Is Sophie okay? Questions Wayne, prompting Teimo to reply that time is of the essence. Hearing this, the reincarnated soul orders his Shikigami to take him there immediately. As Teimo is about to fulfill his wish, Wayne tells Kijin to come with them as well. And so, the three arrive before the 3-floor castle that's supposed to be abandoned. However, the front entrance and rear guardhouse each have 10 people stationed. Furthermore, each floor has at least 20 more magicians guarding them. Nearly 100 people are confined within an underground prison as well, deep within which is the laboratory where Sophie is being held. Revealing all these details, Teimo announces that he has planned a route that will alert the least number of enemies. No, I won't take that route, mutters Wayne, leaving his Shikigami questioning what he means. Letting an intimidating aura, the former Strongest Onmyoji vows to make the villains pay for messing with his domain. Expansion. Wait, wrong show. He then pulls out an origami person, summoning his heavenly generals, Suzaku, Kauchin, Gembu, and Dainin. You heard me. Crush them, proclaims Wayne, commanding the 6 Shikigami to attack from the front and beat up the enemies beyond recognition. Marveling at their master's imposing presence, the heavenly generals bow before him. As you command, a collective voice echoes, as Wayne and his subordinates prepare to wreak havoc. As Wayne and his Shikigami arrive at the front gate of the castle, the guard stops them, announcing that this place is off-limits for good-for-nothing nobles like them. He tells the group to get lost, but Wayne ignores his words and starts walking past him. Annoyed, the guard grabs his shoulder and questions if he is deaf or sum. Before the lookout can even finish his sentence, Wayne turns around and slams his head into the ground. With a sinister look in his eyes, the reincarnated soul declares, "Don't get in my way." Witnessing this sight, the other guards rally, realizing that they are under attack. As the mousy Shikigami named Gembu worries that there's too many bad guys, Wayne gives Kuchin the command to go ahead. "Leave it to me," announces the Shikigami. With his towering stature endowed with a serpentine tattoo, Kauchin charges forward, brutalizing the guards without much effort. He stays behind to deal with them, allowing Wayne and the others to enter the castle. Led by Teimo, the group arrives at the stairs that will take them down to the underground prison. Yet again, the pesky guards get in their way. This time, Wayne orders Dain and Suzaku to clear the way. Excited that it's finally their turn, the two tell their master to count on them to beat up all the guards. As they jump into battle, Wayne declares that the rest of them will proceed underground. "Oh my, a friend of Sophie, I presume." A voice suddenly calls out, belonging to the woman who caught her. Brimming with a villainous energy, she inquires if they are there to save the girl. Good guess then, Sherlock. Realizing that she is quite powerful, Kijin steps up and asks Wayne to leave the woman to her. "I am counting on you," remarks the boy, marching past the enemy. Taken aback by this, the lady announces that she won't let him slip past her. As the woman extends her hand to attack Wayne, Kijin uses her Onmyo Jutsu to defend her master. Struck by the Shikigami's spiritual power, the lady's arm snaps back, making her question what just transpired. Complimenting the woman for unleashing her attack without any chanting, Kijin declares her to be a little better than the average magician. "Only a little," murmurs the lady, taking offense to this statement. "Of course," replies Kijin, remarking that there's actually almost no difference from her point of view. Hearing this, the woman injects something in her neck and announces that she will just need a higher dose if that's the case. This experimental and wonderful drug is known as Makia, a medicine that enhances one's mana and can make anyone superhuman. Bloods want to put everyone on the juice, literally. With this, the lady's right arm transforms into a giant beastly mass, prompting Kijin to remark that she should have said monster instead of superhuman. Snarking at her rudeness, the woman tells the Shikigami that she won't kill her right away. The sadistic lady wants to take her time playing with Kijin. until she accidentally overdoes it and beats her to a pulp. Luckily, I specialize in monster extermination, remarks the Shikigami, getting ready to exorcise the one standing before her right now. Meanwhile, Wayne and the others make their way to the underground prison. Moments later, Tamo informs his master that Sophie is being held in the room up ahead. Hearing this, Wayne leaves the magician standing guard to him. He also commands Jembu to take all the people confined there outside, healing anyone who she finds to be wounded. Right then, a horde of guards storms the group. The man leading the charge shouts out, "Don't let them pass this point," only to get instantly cut in half. Holding a bloodied scythe in his hands, Tamo wishes that the enemies would stop being so boorish. At the same time, Jembu heals the prisoners. They thank the Shikigami by referring to her as a saintess, making her question what that is. Probably a doctor or something. I dunno. Elsewhere, a guard slams a door open and shouts out, "There's intruders." Hearing this, the crazed man with the snake-like eyes takes offense and questions if he knows who he's talking to. Telling him that he's busy, the man orders the guard to go and deal with the intruders himself. The latter protests that the enemy is running rampant all over the castle and he gets cut off mid-sentence as Wayne enters the room and puts him down with a stern look. Seeing the boy, the man assumes correctly that he's there to rescue Sophie, who is looking worse and worse with each passing second. "It will be okay, Sophie," declares Wayne, praising her for holding out this long. Calling the boy naive, the villain questions why he thinks he's already won. "You are the naive one," proclaims Wayne, asking the man if he really thinks he stands a chance against him. Brimming with spiritual power, the boy tells him that he won't be able to do anything, labeling what he's about to do to him a one-sided extermination. Dude is more Giga-Chad than Giga-Chad himself. Finishing up their battle with relative ease, Suzaku and Dain witness Kijin clashing with her strong opponent. However, they have full trust in the Shikigami winning no matter what. After all, she is their head god with quite a special, unique skill. Pushing Kijin back, the beastly lady asks where all her bravado from earlier went, reminding her that she said she specializes in monster extermination. At the same time, the Shikigami realizes that her opponent's physical abilities are far better than hers in every way. Continuing the onslaught, the Lunaturia member brings out a strap of metal claws. Using them to clash with Kijin's blade. Delivering heavy blows, she pushes the Shikigami back. Kijin tries to use the transparency Onmyoji jutsu, getting called for trying to hide. "But I can tell exactly where you are," mutters the woman, striking the Shikigami with a powerful attack that pushes her back yet again. While Chin tries to catch her footing, the lady asks Suzaku and Dain if they don't want to jump in to help their friend, declaring that she will die at this rate. Much to her surprise, despite having finished their job, the two are playing around with the guards' bodies, stacking them to form triangles and whatnot. Calling them a bunch of idiots, the lady tells Suzaku and Dain to suit themselves as she will come for them right after killing Kijin. Though, the two goofballs just snicker at her comment. Announcing that there's no way she's going to win against the Shikigami, they scold the woman for not getting a grip on the power levels there. Are they over 9,000? This enrages the latter, who promises to show them the reality of the situation. "Look at me. Can't you tell that I am the one who's winning?" thinks the lady, leaping towards Kijin with a furious bloodlust and shouting at her to die. "You'll be the one dying," replies the Shikigami, unleashing Moment's Return. As if time itself reversed, the woman finds herself in the spot she was a second ago. Taking advantage of this opening, Kijin strikes down the monster with a swift swing of her blade, having completely analyzed her attacks. "No way," murmurs the beastly woman, suffering a crushing defeat. Looking on, Kijin's two fellow Shikigami note that her sword technique with the ability to turn back time is as unfair and amazing as always. Kijin tries to comfort Dain by calling her unique skill amazing as well. Though, the latter wants the former to prove that she means it by trading with her. Blood does not believe in the law of equivalent exchange. Of course, Suzaku reminds a pouting Dain that they can't do such a thing, and it would not be the same even if they could. After all, being the highest rank of Shikigami, the 12 heavenly generals each have a unique skill, with Kijin's Moment Return allowing her to send the target back in time by 0.1 second. In fact, these unique skills are exactly the reason why they are known as the strongest Shikigami. However, Kijin is surprised that she was pushed so far as to use Moment's Return in such a place. Observing the drug that the woman injected, Dain concludes that Lunatioria have been conducting human experiments to make its effects stronger, declaring the prospect to be quite terrifying. At the same time, Kijin hopes that her master is careful in his battle. Over with Wayne, he frees Sophie from her restraints. Holding the girl in his arms, he tells her that she did well, assuring her that she's safe now. Barely managing to speak, Sophie warns Wayne to be careful as the enemy isn't normal. As she falls unconscious, the boy calls for Tamo and leaves Sophie to him. He then turns over to the villain, who claims that Makia is finally complete after the addition of Sophie's mana gene. With this, Lunateoria can now officially produce awakened ones, marking the beginning of a world where everyone, whether weak or strong, will be equal. However, Wayne calls the drug useless, announcing that it has no place in the world that he wants. The reincarnated soul announces that the man's ideals are nothing more than self-satisfaction. "I see, what a pity," mutters the crazed guy, remarking that he will just have to kill Wayne now. Injecting himself with Makia, the man completely transforms into a monstrous creation and feels his power overflowing. Seeing this, Wayne remarks that monstrous is a good way to put things since the man definitely looks like a monster right now. The new life form laughs, self-proclaiming his appearance to befitting for the king of the new world. Telling the villain that he doesn't see it, Wayne notes that it doesn't matter either way. After all, he defeated all manner of evil spirits and monsters in his previous life, so this one will be no different. Now then, it's time for an exorcism, declares Wayne, pulling out a paper doll to unleash his Onmyoji jutsu. What happens next? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball. Wait, wrong show again.